Hi, we're going to work on our Google Slides lesson today. Before we begin, make sure that you've already downloaded the Slides Student Deck file and the Smart Cookie Bakery outline file. You'll see when you open these, by default, they'll both be in their original Microsoft file format. As you can see over here, I have a .docx or Microsoft Word file, and over here a .pptx or Microsoft PowerPoint file. We can leave the Microsoft Word file as is because we're really just using it to copy over information and then we won't need it anymore. But for today's class, we're definitely going to convert the PowerPoint file into a Google slide. To do that, select File, Save as Google Slide. This creates a new version of the file, so at this point, any changes made here will not be reflected on the original. And you'll see the only visible difference is the file name extension. All right, we can close that. We don't need it anymore. When creating a presentation, it's very helpful to begin by typing out your information in a Word-based document. This way you can get all of your ideas down, rework them a bit, and see what might make sense on each slide. So in this case, we're assuming we've already taken the time to do that and have our information separated in our Google Doc. We can now begin to copy over information and fill in our slide. I'm going to highlight with my cursor, and you can right-click to copy. Then I'm going to bring my cursor over to my slide deck window, right-click once more, and choose Paste without formatting. This will ensure that any formatting applied to the text in the original document doesn't come over. That also lets our Google Slide template take control over how the text is formatted. Going to do the same with annual report. And if you prefer not to use a right click, in the edit group, you can choose copy. And I'm going to right click, or rather go to edit and paste without formatting. Next, I'm going to go to slide 2. You see most of this is filled in already. The only thing we need to add in is the text top seller. So I'm going to highlight that, copy, and I don't want that to be part of the main text box on slide 2. So I'm going to go up to the Insert tool and choose Text Box. This will turn my cursor into a plus sign, allowing me to draw the text box. I'm just going to do a click, hold, and drag. Next, Edit, Paste without formatting. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. For now, we're going to skip slide 3. We'll be inserting an image into that in a minute. Slide 4, I'm going to change the format of. Here, we'll ultimately be copying this table where we have salesperson, region, and cookie sold. So I don't need this text box. Now I could select it, make sure I get the border, and press delete, or in the slide tool, choose apply layout and title only. That just automatically applies the layout that only has our title. Next again, edit, paste. This time, paste without formatting doesn't really work. It gets rid of the table, which we want to keep. So I'm going to undo that, and this time, choose Edit, Paste. This brings over not only our information, but the entire table. Now, for now, I can use the click, hold, and drag method to widen this, but we'll come back to it and revise the text so it's a bit easier to read. Next, on slide 5, we're going to add in items and revenue. As you can see here, it's set up in our notes like another table. However, this is going to be a chart. So first I'm going to highlight that information and again, copy it. Once more, we're going to change the format just like we did with slide 4. Going to slide, apply layout, title only. Next, we're going to go to insert, chart, and we are going to use columns. Now it's going to insert a chart that just has fake data, just to give us an idea of what our chart could look like. Now, if we would like to revise this information so that it reflects our actual data, we're going to go over to where it says linked chart, the three dots, and open source. We want to go over to where this information is actually coming from and update it. So here you'll see that there's just the sample data. I'm going to select cell A1, edit, paste. This will replace the data that was there with our information from our Google Doc. See that our chart is updated to reflect exactly the information we put in. One thing though is that it's still using the title points scored. We don't need a title at all anymore because our slide will have its own title. So from here, I'm going to double click into here and just delete. You'll see that your chart will automatically update to take up that extra space. All right, so this now we can close. We don't need this Google Sheet. I'm going to click the X at the top. And from here, when we go back to our slide, you'll see that it does still look the same. All we need to do is click on Update. And there we go. It has the original information. All right, next we're going to go to slide 6. This we don't need to add any text to, but we do want to change the formatting. So again, slide, apply layout, and here we're going to use the layout called section header. One last change, we need to insert another text box that's going to go on slide 4. Here you'll see that we wanted to have an animation a little bit later pop up that says great job. So I'm going to copy that text, and then in my slide, insert text box, draw my text box. Really doesn't matter where because we can move it, paste, and then for now, maybe I'll put this towards the bottom. All right, so at this point, I've got all the information I needed from my slides outline, and I can go ahead and close this and set my presentation to be full screen. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Navigating back to slide 1, I'm going to begin changing the slide layout. So back to slide 1, we're going to insert our company logo. For that, I'm going to go to Insert, Image, and you'll see there's a few different options. To add in an image, we're going to go to Insert, Image, and in this case, we're going to use the images that are saved onto our computer. You will notice though that there are other options. So if you have an image saved to your Google Drive, for example, or Google Photos, you can link directly to that. If you have a camera, let's say you're working on this on a mobile device and you've taken a picture that you'd like to include, you can link from there. So there's a few more options. We are going to select Upload from Computer. And then in my Downloads folder, I have the Smart Cookie Bakery logo, and I'm going to say Open, and that will insert that right in. As I'm moving this around, you'll see this little red line pop up, and that is an alignment guide. Just lets me know if my picture is in line with the text or the margins of the page, really whatever I'm near. So for now, I'm going to leave it here, and I may or may not change it later. Next, I want to change my theme. So to do that, I'm going to go over to Slides, at the very bottom, Change Theme. This is really the decorative background, right? So in this case, Google Slides is doing a lot of the design work for us. And so from here, you can choose whatever it is that you like, and you'll notice that it's going to change your text as well as potentially the location of your text. So it's just a good idea if you're deciding on the theme after you've put the text and copy in, to go through and just double check that you still can read everything, nothing's been moved to a place that you need to move it back from. So let's say I decide to use this one called Coral. All right, well, I definitely need to move my picture. In fact, I'm going to use my two-headed arrow to resize it so that it fits just right. There's my red line letting me know it's centered. I think I still want to change the size a little bit more. Something else that you can do, if you right click on an image, you can go over to format options. That's going to bring up your format pane on the right. So if I have a very specific size, let's say, or like in this case, I want to keep the aspect ratio, meaning I don't want the image to become distorted by being too tall or too wide, I can check this off and say that I want the height. Maybe I want to move the whole thing down to 1.5. This way, I know exactly the size if that's something I need. And again, I can make sure that the aspect ratio is maintained. All right, so after I chose my theme, I can go take a look and see what's going on with my other slides. You'll see that they have all been updated to match the new theme. So it saved us quite a bit of work. Let's say that just to add a little bit of something fun to our slide, we'd like to animate our logo. While it's selected, I'm going to choose animate. You'll notice that that tool is missing if you deselect the image, right? So I've got it selected, animate, and from here I can choose from some of the different animation options. Right now it's set to appear on click. Maybe instead of having no logo and then a logo, I'd like it to stay there, but spin on click. So I'm going to play and see what that looks like. I've clicked and now my logo is spinning. There's a lot of different options. Of course, what's appropriate will kind of depend on the presentation you're making. There's a lot of variety. While we're working on animations, first I'm going to say stop so I can exit this section. And now I'm going to go to slide 2. You'll notice in the film strip over here that because slide 1 right now has an animation, I have this little icon to let me know that something is activated here. Now this top seller that we wrote in earlier, I want to make sure that this comes up after I've gone through all of the text. So in theory, I'd be giving the presentation, talking about the sales for each different region, and then saying something like, congratulations to the Southwest region as our top seller, and then having this pop up. To help make it very clear that the Southwest is my top seller, I'd also like to include a little shape for an arrow. So in my menu, I'm going to go to Shapes, Arrow. I could choose any of these to make things very easy. I'm going to choose that second one where it's pointing directly where I need it. So I can leave this exactly as is or make changes if need be. I'm going to keep it simple and leave it the way it is for today. But I also want to make sure that the arrow and the words top seller appear at the same time. So I'm going to group them together so that the animation takes effect at the same time. For that, I'm going to select the arrow, hold down the Control key, and also select top seller. Doing that allows me to select two things at the same time. And now I can go up to the Arrange group and then select Group. And now they're moving together. So just like before, while it's selected, I'm going to add an animation. You'll see here, this time it's over here with the motion menu. I'm going to say add animation, and I would like it to appear on click, but maybe I'm going to have it fly in from the right. Let's see what that looks like. Sure, we'll stick with that one. All right, I'm going to say stop and move on to the next. Now we're going to talk about our newest employee. And so we'd like to also include his picture. To do that, first I'm thinking I need to make a little bit of extra space. So I'm going to manually adjust the width of this text box. When you do that, so again, I'm starting out here, I'm selecting the box, holding my cursor over where I see the resize handles, these larger squares. And when I get that two-headed arrow, click, hold, and drag. It's going to adjust my text automatically so that it fits within whatever new space I've given it. All right, as a reminder to add in our picture, which I'm going to click outside of the text so that the picture shows up somewhere around here. Insert, image, upload from computer. I'm going to select PowerPoint John Doe, open. So here we've now got a nice picture of Mr. John Doe. Depending on the background you've chosen, and as an example, I'm going to apply a background just to this slide so that you can better see the cropping we're going to do. Background, color. Now you'll see here, these are colors that maybe aren't being used right away in my presentation, but they're included in that theme, right? Any of these colors would look nice with the theme that we have. So let's say I choose this bluish color and say done. While I'm at it, I'm going to change this font because it's a little difficult to read. Same idea. All right. So now you can very clearly see that this picture has a lot of extra white space. So I'd like to crop it and crop it to a shape to get rid of that. The crop tool is up here in my menu. I'm going to say crop to shape. So if I just click on this, I can crop it from whatever original shape it is. But if I'd like to change it, it's the down arrow, shapes, and then over here, this circle. I don't have to do anything else if I don't want to. I could adjust a little bit. Let's see. But I'm just going to say enter on my keyboard. And now I have a circle. That extra white space is gone. All right, next we're going to make some changes to slide 4. Once more, let's take our text box. We're going to apply this with an animation. And let's say I just want to change the font a little bit. Maybe I want this great job to be in the same font as our title text. So first I'm going to copy some text here. Actually, I'll do, that whole box. Format Painter tool, and then click on great job. Looks like I also want to do it one more time to get the word job. There we go. So now the formatting of this text box matches what we have up here. All right, so now we've got this table. The information's all accurate, it's clear, but it's very small and kind of difficult to read. So we're going to make some changes to that. I'm going to select my table in the format group, align and indent. I'm going to center all of my text. And I'm also in align and indent going to choose middle so that my text is all sort of floating in there. Next, I would like to make some changes. I'm going to highlight my row 1. And in here, I'm going to give it a background color and change the font a bit. Let's say instead of size 12, I'd like it to be 24. Let's say also that the text in the table itself, maybe not quite 24, but how about size 18, right? It's a little bit easier to read. I can adjust where this is if needed. And any other changes you might want to make. Again, we're going to animate our text box. So while this is selected, I'm going to go up to animate and say that on click, I would like it to fade in. Click. Great job. Going to take a look at slide 5. I really don't need to make any changes here. If I wanted to maybe change the colors, I could go ahead under format options with recolor and choose something in here. So maybe I wanted to make something that reflected a few more of the color schemes that are in this slide presentation. But I think generally it kind of works the way that it is. And so now if I wanted to preview my presentation, and go to up here where it says slideshow, choose the drop down and select start from beginning. Now by clicking through, I'm going to get each animation and then I can press the escape key when I'm all done. A few reminders when you're working in Google Slides. If you need to share work, you can do that up here. If you would like to see a previous version, you can click on the version history and see what things looked like as you were working, and also who made what changes. So if you're working with a group, it can be really helpful. All right, so I'm going to go click on that arrow, go back, and I think our presentation is all set. Thank you so much.